Well, after 3 different race winners so far this weekend in the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup, we could well make it a 4th. It's the 4th and final 25-minute encounter of the weekend for the Sprint Championship. The 3rd meeting of the season for the Ultimate Cup Series. And this will be the last race of the day. This is how we're rounding things up with the GT Sprint Cup. We had Amaury Bonduelle winning in race number 2. We had Lyle Schofield in race number 2. Amaury Bonduelle in race 1. Then Lyle Schofield. In fact, they're lining up on the front row with the grid for this one. And we had Kevin Passer winning in race number 3 earlier on. 3 very different races we've had so far this weekend. It's Amaury Bonduelle starting on pole position ahead of Lyle Schofield, then Carl van der Westen and Frederic Lacour, Alfredo Hernandez and Solon Amrouche, with Eric Mouet, Harrison Walker, Patrick Michelier, Baudouin Detu, Jordan Sio, Philippe Thalamy, Pierre Arroux, Jean-Pierre Ancelin, Christophe Weber, Olivier Morahan, Jeremy Falligan and Francois Denise at the back of the field. But the 4-minute board has gone out, and we will see how the weekend for this series gets rounded out with potentially a 4th different winner in prospect. But Claire has got news from the grid.
Yep, come down to 2nd place, Lyle Schofield. Lyle, how are we feeling?
Don't know yet.
That's not good for my interview, I'm not going to lie. I need a bit more from you. It is drying up out there. We saw just from the single-seaters that actually there's a lot more grip, I think.
Yeah, like I saw their lap times. It was looking like it was getting drier. But I didn't get a chance to put on the slicks before going out on my warm-up lap. So on this formation lap, I have to try and warm up the tires as fast as possible.
Feels a bit like the unknown.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you with that. You'll be fine. Also, you're alongside quite a tough competitor. Do you think you'll be able to get past him at the start?
I might have a chance at the start, but I think he's way too quick. He's in a class of his own, so it's a GT3. So.
Okay. I'll let you get on because I can't hear a word of you now because of the tooting. But you concentrate and have a good race.
Thank you. Thank you.
Race 2 winner Lyle Schofield starting on the front row of the grid. Yes, 3 very different races we've had so far this weekend. A completely dry race number 1, a wet to dry to wet race number 2, and then a very, very, very wet race number 3. So we will see how Amaury Bonduelle fares in this one. Of course, has to take a drive-through success penalty owing to his silver class status. That's very much what led to Kevin Passer taking the lead as Amaury Bonduelle was trying to find his way through the pack. Of course, no skin off the back of Kevin Passer, who made up for the puncture he suffered from in race 1 and took the overall victory. Of course, other classes to look out for as well. The UCS4 battle, it is been utterly dominated by the number 300 speed car Audi R8 GT4 of Philippe Thalamy so far this weekend. He's won all 3 races in that class. But they're the number 39 Racing Spirit of Le Mans Aston Martin Vantage Evo of Baudouin Detu has certainly been the fastest and indeed starts on pole position in that class, but has been a victim of the success penalty. So Amaury Bonduelle on the left-hand side there, the Mercedes-AMG GT3 that starts on pole position. Race 1 winner starts ahead of race 2 winner. It's Lyle Schofield in the UCS3 Ferrari 488 Challenge. So 2 different class of cars on the front row of the grid. And the SR&R car that finished 3rd overall in race 3. But that was with Francesco Corsin at the wheel of the car. Just behind them is, on the second row of the grid, is Carl van der Westen, the Porsche Cup pole sitter to be Autosport. And it has been 2-1 in terms of the Porsche Cup wins against the Jeremy Falligant's Barbiz car that starts right down at the back of the grid after Q1 issue yesterday. Alfredo Hernandez ended race 3 in the gravel at turn 12. He starts on UCS2 pole position with Solon Amrouche's Vortex, also in UCS3, separating Hernandez and his class rival Eric Mouet in the development GTX Ginetta from Team CMR. Then it's Harry Walker and Patrick Michelier, a pair of UCS3 cars from SR&R and CMR respectively. With Baudouin Detu on UCS4 pole positions, the formation lap gets underway, and we heard Lyle Schofield saying he needs to experience this as these are the only slick tyre lap he's going to do ahead of this race starts. Just round out the rest of the field. Jules Doncio, who has dominated UCS Light so far this weekend in the drive-in midget Super T. Philippe Thalamy, 3 for 3 in UCS4. He goes from second in class ahead of Pierre Aru. The 2 Audis line astern from Speedcar and Herrero Racing. UCS Lights, Jean-Pierre Ancelin, that car there'll be a gap there, so Christophe Weber. Then in the Pegasus Racing Ligier JS2R, car that was running well in race number 3, but fell off the road towards the end. Olivier Morahan, don't believe is taking part in this race. He didn't take part in race 3. Jeremy Falligant starting on the back row of the grid. After that off he had in qualifying, we alluded to earlier. And then finally, Francois Denise in the speed car Ginetta G50 GT4. That will round out the grid. Amory Bondwell bringing his first GT3 race weekend to a close. Having been very successful in Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. Getting some experience in the GT3 car ahead of what appears to be a more permanent switch to GT3 competition for the young Belgian, well, the Belgian-born Frenchman. Returning to the Ultimate Cup Championship, having won the Monoplace Championship with Lamo Racing back in 2019. And it was racing in Ultimate Cup alongside Super Trofeo last year, actually, and even in the GT Winter Series in the Super Trofeo. So a very different machine that Amory Bondwell has gotten to grips with so far this weekend. It'll be the Ferrari 488 Challenge of Lyle Schofield, the Race 2 winner, starting alongside him. And the car that has been on the podium in its class in every race so far this weekend. SR&R looking to round out a very good weekend. Another Porsche v Ferrari battle on the second row of the grid to watch out for as well. But it's the gold BDR competition, Mercedes GT3 of Amory Bondwell to watch from pole position as the lights go out. Green flag is waved, and Carl van der Westen gets the jump on Lyle Schofield straight away. And the Frenchman is into second position, takes a chunk of curb at the Nord curve, and Lyle Schofield runs off the track himself, but so down into third position for the Irishman, but has been able to steer clear of his class rival, and it is Alfredo Hernandez who's been the man on the move up into fourth position ahead of Frederic Lacour in the other BDR competition car, but that's the Super Trofeo, so a different class of car to the sister car. And you see Amory Bondwell still weaving down the parabolica to try and generate some tyre temperature. We still see there are still some damp patches out there. We had a horrific rainstorm during the 2 qualifying sessions for the European Prototype Endurance Cup and the Ultimate GT Endurance Cup, and it has dried out significantly since then, but there are still damp patches out there that they have to be wary for, particularly this slower section of the racetrack. You can see off the racing line, very slippery out there. So Carl van der Westen up into second position. He had the Porsche Cup victory a little bit earlier on. In fact, it was in race number 3 with second position overall, winner across the line on the road. But of course, the silver class penalty negated him to second position. Now, Frédéric Lacour here is not letting Alfredo Hernandez out of his sight line. He's still running very close to the Super Trofeo car, and one might anticipate that the Super Trofeo would pull away. But Lacour, having finished on the overall podium in race 2 yesterday, he has got his sights set on the Mexican former Super Trofeo racer. Lead gap for Amory Bondwell, 6.1 seconds. That's the kind of gap he needs to pull to try and negate his drive-through penalty for the silver class success. And Lyle Schofield is also not letting Carl van der Westen out of his sight as well. So the Irishman chasing the Frenchman still. It's another Porsche v Ferrari battle, two very different single make championship cars, and obviously Frédéric Lacour has got through on Alfredo Hernandez. So the Super Trofeo went through on the first lap, but Lacour, in the racing spirit of Le Mans Ferrari, still running very strong and getting himself back up into fourth position. Still second of the UCS3 runners, of course, but making up overall ground. And just behind them is Hernandez's class rival Eric Muez in the CMR Ginetta GTX. That is one of the cars that Ginetta is developing in the Ultimate Cup Championship alongside its LMP3 car, but the GTX free from regulation and competition restrictions, so it doesn't fit into the GT3 or GT4 category, but it's a step beyond the GT4, that's for sure. If anybody who's been watching the Creventic 24-hour series, then it has been very successful in various 12 and 24-hour races, including the Dubai 24. And wow, look at that, the sun has really burst through now. That's the first time we've seen the sun in a good few hours here in Hockenheim, and suddenly it's absolutely burst through. So Carl van der Westen only 0.8 of a second ahead of Lyle Schofield. Frédéric Lacour up into fourth. Alfredo Hernandez just 1.1 ahead of his class rival Eric Mouet. Jeremy Falligand up into 7th position in the second of the Porsche Cup cars. And then our UCS4 race leader, Baudouin Detu, but remember he's got to take success penalty as well. And then Jules Doncio and Philippe Thalamy completing the top 10 in the second of the UCS4 cars. Looks like we didn't have Solène Amrouche taking the start either after she damaged her car a little bit earlier on in race number 3. And I did see that SR&R had withdrawn the 333 car, so no Harry Walker in this race. Never quite got an answer for that one, but it also looks like no Patrick Michelier either from CMR. So, well, that's disappointing. It means we're down to 13. Look at this battle now for second position as Lyle Schofield tries to get the up and under up on Carl van der Westen. And this is very much a resumption of what happened in race number 2, with Lyle Schofield piling on the pressure on Carl van der Westen. He didn't manage to make the move on the road, but he did win in the timing order. Although I think the difference this time, though, is that Frédéric Lacour is significantly closer. His class rival only 2 seconds behind. And, of course, the SR&R team rivals with Racing Spirit of Le Mans in that category. It might be a different story if he had one of his teammates to back him up. So 19.5 minutes to go. The 3 cars line astern in this battle for second place, led by the Frenchman, Carl van der Westen, the double Roscar GT Challenge champion, going up against the Formula X Series champion in the form of Lyle Schofield. And the former midget racer as well, with Racing Spirit of Le Mans, Frédéric Lacour, there third in the queue. Heading towards the hairpin once again. The Ferrari should have slightly better straight line speed than the Porsche. The Porsche will be king in the corners. But this is almost exactly what we saw in race number 2. The only difference was Amory Bondwell was significantly further down the order because he had to take his drive through. Then he had to make his stop. Well, he made a stop to switch from wets over to slicks because he made the wrong call on the grid. And then he got a drive through for speeding in the pit lane. So he was significantly further down the order in race number 2 earlier on. And then just missed out on race 3 victory by a sniff. Pushed Kevin Passer to the line practically in that number 91 car that Frédéric Lacour is currently driving. They share the driving duties across the 2 races if you have 2 drivers in the car, and score points accordingly as well. Currently it's 1.4 seconds separating these 3 cars, squabbling over second position. Well, less than that now, 0.8 of a second as they went over the timing line. Down towards turn 2, that looked like a little bit of a wobble there for Carl van der Westen. Trying to get the Porsche stopped. That's the 992 forming its basis on its Carrera Cup competition. More power than its predecessor, but still would be lacking in comparison to the Ferrari, which is powered by a whopping great V8 that produces some 650 brake horsepower. And, well, it's a good job we don't have the 296 challenge car in this, actually, because I think it would be walking away with these races. 700 brake horsepower in that machine, whereas the 525 brake horsepower from the Porsche would certainly feel like a lot until you went toe-to-toe with the 488 challenge. Lyle Schofield still employing the touring car headlight tactic. A bit of a wobble there for Carl van der Westen, though. He had a big swapper going through turn 12 into the stadium section with side-by-side into the Sachs curve. Lyle Schofield on the outside in the white and red SR&R Ferrari, and you're not going to go around the outside of the Sachs curve with any great ease, so the Irishman has to fall back in line. And now we have a time penalty for car number 12. That's Eric Mouet for disrespecting the starting procedure. Wow, so he's currently 1.6 seconds behind his class rival Alfredo Hernandez. He'd have to get ahead of him and pull another 5 seconds to make that worthwhile. So Frédéric Lacour there fancied a run on Lyle Schofield going into turn number 2, but there was nothing doing on that occasion. Another cracking battle between these 2 great drivers and 3 great teams there as well. You've got the 2B Autosport team, which is largely known as the French Rally Championship team, as Lyle Schofield gets a great up and under. Couldn't have taken more curb if he'd have tried at the hairpin. Has that drawn him alongside him? Yes, it has. It's drawn him clear. So Lyle Schofield up into second position ahead of Carl van der Westen. Next in the queue is Frédéric Lacour. He's the meat in a Ferrari sandwich at the moment. It's SR&R leading 2B Autosport, leading Racing Spirit of Le Mans with 15 minutes to go in this battle for second position. The SR&R team continuing its strong form in the UCS3 category. The team run by 2 lifelong friends, Manfredi Rivetto and Paolo Roberti. If Manfredo Rivetti sounds familiar, only person to have been a team principal in Formula 1, LMP1, and in DTM as well. In Formula 1 with Caterham, and Bicoles team in LMP1 as well. Amory Bondwell well clear, 33.7 seconds to the good over Lyle Schofield now. Stretching clear if he has to come into the pits to do his silver success penalty, then well, he would certainly be in a strong position to still win the race. coming up to half race distance shortly. The Mercedes GT3 looking very strong out there. With Frédéric Lacour still all over the back of Carl van der Westen, by the way, as Bonduelle has the first of the traffic to manage. He's lapped Christophe Weber and Pierre Roux already. Now he's getting past Francois Denis, who's third of the UCS4 runners as it stands. Still Baudouin de Two, I think, still needs to take his silver success penalty. Battle for third resumes, with Lyle Schofield pulling over a second clear of Carl van der Westen now. So it's all very much eyes on Frédéric Lacour, trying to pull the Racing Spirit of Le Mans car onto the overall podium. He's watching his class rival get away. You see he has his own little correction there going into the penultimate corner, and a lovely drive out of the final corner. The Ferrari will be more powerful in the straight line, and he pulls clear of van der Westen by the time they get into the Nord curve. And so that is Frédéric Lacour now up into third position. It's BDR Competition, SR&R, and Racing Spirit of Le Mans on the overall podium, with 2B Autosport sat just behind. Still holding on to the Porsche Cup lead, of course, is Carl van der Westen. His class rival, Jeremy Falligand, is 7th in the overall standings. He's got the two UCS2 cars between him and his nearest class rival. There is Alfredo Hernandez, the leader in UCS2, ended his race 3 in the gravel, trying to make amends. Now that looks like some smoke coming out of the Ginetta. Certainly looked like something coming out of the back of it. It didn't look like it was just kicking up dust or anything off the circuit. Let's see if we can see it again. Of course, the two cars in the same class separated by 1.2 seconds. This car, the sister car to the race leader, both from BDR Competition, run by Grupo Prom. So Hernandez makes his way through. I just wonder, does that Ginetta have some sort of ailment? We'll hopefully get another shot of the back of the Ginetta and see if that smoke is still coming out. Can't see anything on the front shot. So 10 and a bit minutes to go. Hernandez is currently lapping faster than van der Westen. He took 2/10 out of the Porsche driver last time around, but 5.2 seconds the gap between them. And then we see the Pegasus Racing Ligier getting a lap put on it by the podium runners. So van der Westen tries to make his way through into turn number 7. It's a great blue livery on that Pegasus Racing Ligier, and they're also out in the GT endurance race tomorrow as well. Right, in comes Amaury Bonduelle. He's done his stop and go, fully stationary, and then back out onto the track again. But I imagine he will still be well clear by the time he gets out onto the track. No sign of Lyle Schofield at the moment. So Amaury Bonduelle, I think, still hanging on to the lead of the race. Yeah, in fact he is, because Lyle Schofield's only just got across the line. And he was some 50 seconds or so clear, so Amaury Bonduelle set for a second victory of the season. or second victory of the weekend, I should say. And this is teeing up Bonduelle very nicely for his future GT3 plans, which I'm sure he'll be announcing very soon. Whether he'll round off the season in Super Trofeo Europe, we'll see. I do wonder why they have elected to go for a Mercedes in this race, having been so tightly connected to Lamborghini machinery in recent years. But I'm sure all will be revealed in good time. I do believe as well that when he came to the Ultimate Cup for the first time, winning the Monoplast Championship, that was his actual first time he'd actually finished the season, having competed in Formula Renault 2-litre, made his GP3 debut that year as well. After that, seeming to only do bits and bobs, really, a round of Italian F4, drove the Vortex for a bit in the 24-hour series as well, but then finally seemed to find a home in the Ultimate Cup series. And now seemingly it's going to take him to GT3 competition in Europe. The deficit only reduced to 33 seconds with that. Now, battle for second place. Frédéric Lacour is not done yet, and of course that is also for UCS3 lead. So Frédéric Lacour could make it back-to-back class victories for that car. And indeed, yet another podium finish for Racing Spirit of Le Mans in their category. So Lyle Schofield will be feeling the pressure, I'm sure, for these remaining 6.5 minutes. And of course, they were tight while they were tucked up behind Carl van der Westen, but now they're in clean air. We still see that Frédéric Lacour has got good speed here and could well be mounting a challenge. That car, the number 91, is the one that won overall in race number 3 with Kevin Parser at the wheel. They had a puncture in race 1 and the victory in race 3. He's experienced the full range of emotions he can have on a racing weekend, whereas Frédéric Lacour in race 2, he had an overall podium finish in race 2. Second position amongst the UCS3 runners as well. The man that beat him, the one in front of him. 5.5 minutes left on the clock. They're still pulling ahead of Carl van der Westen and being left by Amaury Bonduelle for dust as well. So they've only got themselves to worry about, really. Or only got each other to worry about, maybe. And Lacour with a dive down the inside into turn number 2. That was for the UCS3 lead, and Schofield had to yield the place. So the Racing Spirit of Le Mans number 91 car from Frédéric Lacour takes the lead in UCS3 and second position overall. But Lyle Schofield will not take that line down at all. The Irishman comes back at the Racing Spirit of Le Mans car, but is getting squeezed over to the inside. They've got traffic to contend with as well. Francois Denis in the speed car Ginetta keeps well out of the way at the hairpin. That might have been Lyle Schofield's one and only opportunity to try and reclaim the lead there from Frédéric Lacour. How crucial is that going to be in 4.5 minutes time? So for now it is Lacour in second position into the lead in UCS3. Of course, oh, he has a big moment and hits the water there on the outside of the curbing as well. That could have ended in tears. That could have ended Lacour's race so quickly. But he gathered that up very nicely indeed. Getting over the curb was one thing, but getting onto the water, that was the real danger right there. Still a lot of damp patches around the circuit, and especially in those curves where they haven't been used. If you put two wheels out on here onto that drag strip, you would still probably skate right off the road. stopwatches at the ready. Can't believe they're still being used. And Lacour running out a little bit wide there. That would have been a track limits infringement. It's the curbing at turns 1 and 6 where they are monitoring the track limits, and it's the exit of the curbing that marks the track limit. And look at that. Somehow Frédéric Lacour he's pulled a second over Lyle Schofield, who's very much been the form man in the UCS3 category so far this season. So a mightily impressive performance here from Frédéric Lacour to try to usurp that trend. GTX Ginetta here, second in the UCS2 category. Eric Mouet having to take a 5-second time penalty for a start procedure infringement, but he's 18 seconds clear of the car behind. Baudouin Datou has just come in to serve his success penalty from the lead in UCS4. So we'll see where that leaves him in comparison to Philippe Thalamy, who is the next car in his class behind him. Well, Philippe Thalamy so far has been 3 from 3 for him in the GT4 category. See, there is some of the smoke that we saw from the Ginetta. It seems to be from the exhaust on the downshifts, perhaps. It's definitely spitting flame when Mouret goes down, but yeah, that must have been what we saw coming out the back of it earlier. So not the healthiest looking thing in the world, but quite cool, I think, nonetheless. Then we saw Alfredo Hernandez, his class rival, 9.7 between them. A minute and a half or so left on the clock. See where Amaury Bonduelle is. He's just coming into the 3rd sector, so we'll be starting the final lap next time around. SR&R team rooting for Lyle Schofield. Hernandez still in 5th position. Will have class victory for him. Had the overall podium in race 1, 2nd position. But Eric Mouet has taken the 2 other wins, so it'll be 2 apiece for Mouet and Hernandez this weekend so far. Still closing in actually on Carl van der Westen. He's only 3 seconds back now, but I think he's just going to run out of time, given we are now on the last lap, which Amaury Bonduelle has started, heading down the parabolica for the final time. So we will see the checkered flag this time around. I'm just keeping an eye on the GT4 race leader, and just to see where he has come out in relation to Philippe Thalamy. I think he might have gotten away with it and still be in the class lead, but I'll keep you up to date on that. Frédéric Lacour in 2nd position on his last warning for track limits, so he's got to be careful. The only other place he'll need to be careful is turn 6, really. That's where they're monitoring the track limits. But Lacour still on course for 2nd position. Amaury Bonduelle in the BDR competition Mercedes-AMG GT3, the 25-year-old who has been one of the superb drivers of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe in the last couple of years, came to Hockenheim this weekend in a bid to start his GT3 racing campaign. Well, he has certainly done that. It was victory in race 1 for Amaury Bonduelle. It's victory in race 4 as well. He rounds out his first GT3 race weekend in the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup with victory at the end of Saturday's running. And it will be a long, long wait for Frédéric Lacour. But for him, it will be worth the wait indeed. And oh, look at that on the last lap there. Carl van der Westen. Now, was that contact with Alfredo Hernandez? But that should put the Mexican up into 4th position. That's the 2nd time that car this weekend has gone round at turn number 1, because Cesar van der Westen was tagged by Solan Amrouche in race number 1. She picked up a 10-second time penalty for that, so maybe we'll see Hernandez get the same thing, but we didn't actually necessarily see the contact there. Still waiting for Frederic Lacour to come through in 2nd position. Where is the SR&R driver? Well, there's Carl van der Westen. Across the line has come Boisdan Detu, and he's taken his first... oh, was that Frederic Lacour? That was Frederic Lacour. Going slowly. What happened to Frederic Lacour on the last lap of the race? I don't believe it. Lyle Schofield has come through. That's why we were waiting so long. Lyle Schofield's come through to take 2nd position and the UCS3 lead. What happened to the racing spirit of Le Mans car on the last lap of the race that is going to deny it victory and an overall podium finish? Unbelievable. So Alfredo Hernandez, with the spin for Carl van der Westen and Lacour's issue, now finds himself on the overall podium. Lacour has been able to get it over the line. He's willed it to the finish, and he will still be on the podium in his class. But what happened there right at the end? That has been an unlucky car this weekend. The puncture in race 1, and now some sort of issue that's cost him in race 4. Well, elsewhere, Alfredo Hernandez on top in UCS2, of course, with an overall podium finish. Eric Mouet just behind him. That 5-second penalty, no odds in the end. So Frederic Lacour 5th. Carl van der Westen still managed to beat Jeremy Falligand to the Porsche Cup podium or victory, but only by 3.8 seconds in the end. Boisdan Detu takes his first victory of the weekend. The Racing Spirit of Le Mans Aston Martin GT4 Vantage. So I think that's his first win for Racing Spirit of Le Mans since the switch from GPA Racing mid-season. And UCS Light, it's 4 from 4 for Jules Doncio this weekend. Philippe Thalamy and Francois Denis in the 2 speed car GT4 cars will join the 2 on the UCS4 podium. Oh, wow. What an end here. I look forward to catching up with Frederic Lacour later and seeing what on earth happened there. There was nothing visibly obvious that was wrong with the car. Hopefully nothing too dramatic. But there's Amory Bondwell out of the car. 2nd victory of the weekend, so he's denied us the 4 different winners from 4 races. But yeah, I'm sure Lyle Schofield is going to be, oh, I've won in UCS3, and I'm in 2nd position overall. Didn't expect that to happen when going into the last lap. Alfredo Hernandez up 2 spots on that last lap, although if there was contact with Carl van der Westen, then, well, he might lose the overall podium. There's Amory Bondwell. Seems pretty happy with his day's work. So we will wrap up the action in Ultimate GT Sprint Cup. We will be back in a few weeks' time in Mugello. Of course, it's a summer break, so we're back in September on the 7th and 8th, or the 6th, 7th and 8th, I should say, because we tend to race on Fridays, of September. So we do go into the summer break. It'll be a couple of months before we see these cars out again. Claire is downstairs with Amory Bondwell.
And the weekend, wasn't it?
Very good, a little bit difficult on West 2 and West 3 on the wind. We don't have a very good setup on the car with the wind. but the last race on the dry was good.
It looked fun out there. There was a lot of people that were getting caught out by various different things. However, the sun was starting to shine. Were you happy to see the end of the rain?
Yes, I'm happy. I would like to thanks to all the team for the job on the car, because it's the first weekend on this car, and we prepare 2025.
And just talk to us. How come you did bring the Mercedes to this round?
1 month ago.
And you're happy with how it's running?
Yes, very happy.
Are we going to see it elsewhere in any other championships at all?
At the moment, I don't know, because I drive with Lamborghini on the official car in 2 weeks. We will see for the next year.
Okay, next year. Interesting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's go see if we can find Lyle, because we spoke to him at the beginning of the race, and he managed to take second place. I'm going to push whoever he's talking to out the way. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Well, congratulations. Did you expect that one class win as well?
No, I don't know what happened with Frederic. So I'm happy. Like I finished first in class, but yeah, happy with performance. Struggled at the end with the tire management, but yeah, happy overall.
Why was there so many issues with the tire management just the end?
I think I pushed it way too quickly at the start. I tried keeping up with the Porsche when I should have waited, let him go off, and then warm up my tires slowly, and then catch him up. But yeah, at the end it was horrible.
You had some concerns at the beginning of the race. Were the concerns? Did they happen on track, or were you okay?
No, they were fine. It's pretty much bipolar what I was thinking. So yeah.
Well, congratulations. Class win in second overall. You must be pleased.
Yeah, I'm happy with this weekend. So points on the board. So yeah.
Points on the board. Always important. Thank you so much for chatting to us. Okay, well, that's the end of the action for today. If you're joining us on YouTube, do make sure you join us again for 2 races tomorrow. We've got the 4-hour race as well. So make sure you click onto YouTube and make sure you subscribe as well, because we'd love to see what you're saying in comments and all sorts of things like that. However, for today, it is over and we are going to probably try and still dry out. Thank you so much for joining us.
We got it.